Hello there. I have been on and off with this whole YouTube thing. I've been moving around a bit and I've been going through a few personal things, just kind of going through the motions of life and so on. But I'm going to start officially doing a more Tuesday to Friday kind of scale. Maybe change it up every once in a while if I need to, but most likely Tuesday to Friday. Either way, I figured today I'd talk about how I had gotten expelled. So I'm on my journey through school, and it's about like first lunch. There was like a block lunch, A, B, and C lunch, and they were in that order. And I was, I think, B lunch, except I was in the same classroom every day, so I got to go out. I went to go to the bathroom, and I saw one of my friends at their, I think it was block lunch. So they're sitting down, and they have this little baggie of Xanax, and I'm like, well, hello, how are you? So I sit down, and I asked her why she had them, and she said something about it was like for headaches, and her mom was like, "Well, here you go," and give her like a bag of 30. So she asked me if I wanted any, and I was like, "I guess so, might as well." I'd never had them before, and I was always curious for like the longest time. So I think right about B lunch, it was about midway through. My friend Skylar and I were talking about vapes, and I got my first one, and I wanted to show him. And like all the cool kids would go out in the bathroom and vape, so we went into the not main bathroom. We went to the bathroom that people don't usually go to because we thought that'd be safer. And so I went into the one stall, and I had assumed he would go into the stall next to mine, but instead he got in the small stall, the tiny stall too, not even the big one, with me to look at it. He didn't want to like pass it under or anything. He just like stepped right in, and I, for whatever reason, was like, all right, screw it. I don't feel like arguing about this. So we're hitting it on and off, and then out of nowhere, the teacher shows up, and he peeks over the stall, and the first thing you see is his hand go up, thumb back, let's go, get out. So we bail, get out of there, but I couldn't really go anywhere, obviously. Go to the principal's office, and I had completely forgotten about the Xanax at this point. So when they go to search me, I had evidently managed to hold the vape in my sleeve, so I thought I was in the clear. They didn't seem to find it, but they found 3 of the 5, so I was a little lucky there. But I think the highlight of it all was the fact that they went for the second search to make sure, because they knew I had it on me. There's no way I could have just gotten rid of it. They even checked the trash cans to make sure. So I had put it back in my pocket when I sat down thinking I was sneaky. So they did the second pat down, they find it, and they're like, "Where'd you have it the first time?" And I knew I was screwed, and I was probably going to get thrown out anyways. It was like, a magician never reveals his secrets. And he would dead face, just like, get out. He was like boiling red. He didn't even know what to do other than tell me to leave. And I ended up sitting in the office for like 2 or 3 hours, but it was so much fun at that point because I was at the point where I knew that I was screwed, so I just did not care, and I was like willing to say whatever felt necessary in the moment. And then ended up going to some alternative school for a while, and that was quite an ordeal. I remember, I think the highlight of it all was the amount of teachers that were just weirdly rude, and it was only because they secretly hated their job. Like, I feel like there was this like initial passion of, oh, this will be great. I'll be able to help kids with special needs and anger issues and who have been thrown out of schools and so on and so forth. But then they end up finding out that it's literally just like everyday screaming, everyday chaos, things breaking, things going through windows, kids ripping their stuff apart just because, and like backlashing arguments and even physical violence, just all out mayhem. And but like it's, you're basically just kind of locked in that position because there's like all this like built up like depression because you had all this care and all this and that, and then you just can't just like throw that away. So they get stuck with it, but then they get so passive aggressive, it's ridiculous. Maybe like the littlest arguments would come about. Like, I'm trying to think of like a specific argument. I, honest to God, I think I blocked out most of the memories of going to that school just because it was utterly morbid to wake up every day and realize that I was going to get on a bus full of people that were so loud and angry about everything. And not even just like the bus driver or the assistant. It was like a whole range of kids between like 7 and 17, just all in the same tiny bus. And it was the one bus I had been on that had seatbelts. I was amazed by that. But yeah, I had even gotten into a whole fit of just being bitter just because everyone else was bitter, and I didn't feel like trying to be perky about anything because I would just basically be like shunned for the most part. So I was just kind of like sit back and do whatever work felt necessary and get by on like C's, because I didn't really care at that point. I was like bottom of the ring down to the nice rocky area. But yeah, I had eventually dropped out though. After several months of just daily chaos for about 7 hours a day, I was like, I think I'm better off just going for like online schooling or GED. I think I'll pass on all this. For about 2.5 months exact or so, the last 2.5 months I had spent before I officially decided to leave was spent every day with some kid. Like, there would be a kid with anger issues, and there's a kid who couldn't comprehend emotion. So the kid with anger issues would take out his anger on the kid who didn't understand emotion, and it was basically just a fit of kid making other kid angry. Kid who couldn't understand it would get so mad, and he would just scream for like an hour and a half. It would be top of the lungs, brutal, just like you'd think his face would fall off from like the amount of vibration and heat coming out of him. But he ended up not somehow. He ended up not somehow. And so I'd even went to sleep. Like most days, I would just stay up all night and then sleep at school because I was so done. But there was a lot of people telling me to stay in school, and I was trying to push it, but at the same time, I didn't have it in me just because it really didn't feel worth it, and especially after it started to get so repetitive with just the horrid amount of. I think there was also a few kids that would just like smash stuff. There was there was like the higher the floor, the more crazy and burnt out they were. So I was on, I think, like the third, but that's also because it was like high schoolers and like older kids. But fourth floor was just, what are you eating? Don't eat, what are you, this is the dog I am currently living with. But yeah, I think he just ate a cobweb. I shouldn't do that. Or maybe it was a spider. Either way, if it was a spider, good job. One less in the house. Just got done dealing with a 3-incher. Sprayed it with ant or bug killer, whatever kind of bug killer. I followed it for 3.5 feet, and it just kept walking. And then I had to use my mom's flip flop. But when I hit it, I had to hit it like 3 or 4 times, and then give it a good like put out a cigarette kind of push, like crushing down like a thick cherry from a filtered cigar kind of mush down to get him to fully stop. It was terrifying. Say, hey, stop! Go upstairs. Go. Jeez. But yeah, I think this is much better than a garage, I would say, especially since there's like a whole finished ceiling and lights and everything. But yeah, there's all that. This is at least until I can get a more official setup and more prosperous in my, I guess, general idea of what I wanted to do, which was more along the lines of gaming and stuff. Partially just because I've grown up not just playing games, but like playing it like the history of games in a sense, but starting on Nintendo, and then I didn't play like every system obviously, but I've played the original NES, I've played the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, the Xbox 360, and the Xbox One. I played the GameCube. I've played most of the mobile systems, like the Game Boy Color, PSP. Never got a PS Vita though, only because like it just seemed unnecessary. But yeah, right now I'm currently on Xbox One. I've been on and off with that, and I've been trying to think of a genre and stuff. So I mean, if there's anyone out there who's seeing this and wants to let me know maybe like some references on what games would be interesting to see, then I would love to hear it. Last tidbit, I guess, for this video would be not that, but I had been a smoker of the cigarettes and whatnots ever since I was about 15, and I had kind of been on it more and more heavily as the years went on. I had even started on menthols and then switched to reds and then kind of flip-flop between whatever kind of cigarette I could get because it was cigarette's a cigarette. But after doing about 5 seconds of research, I realized that there's like several different things that'll happen just within like the first year of smoking. It does like, there's little hairs and receptors and stuff in your lungs that have different properties that just basically get destroyed from cigarettes, at least momentarily. And so I had switched to vaping, and I'm kind of just seeing how that goes. Again, I'd been on it for a bit, but it seems like the more healthy alternative. And after like readjusting to juice, I would say 6 milligram would probably be the best level area to be at for nicotine levels for anyone out there who's interested. And I got it's like a Smock Alien kit. It comes with, I think it's called the Baby Beast. There's a single and quad coil, which is pretty neat. The quad coil does devour juice though, like a Hummer devours gas. It's terrifying. I'll do like maybe 30 puffs and then it's gone. So I decided to just get the single, and I'm probably going to switch up to a different tank too, just because the Baby Beast really isn't that good. Although from leaving and coming back, I found out that most mods nowadays have like a dual battery system. So this holds two of the, I think they're 18650s. And yeah, dog hair on there. And also the fact that it's got a little, it's like a little, I don't know if you can keep just like a little divot. It's supposed to be an arrow, but this is a really bad face cam. So if you push on that top section, it opens, and then you can put all your juice in there. There's a lot more convenience than when I had gone in, because when I had started vaping, it was around the time that rebuildable stuff, like making your own coils, had just now become a thing, and it was still very new. And then kind of drifted through into tanks because it was so much more convenient, only because it was like pre-made coils and pre-wicked, and it was like a whole different thing. And then it held juice, so I didn't have to re-drip every like 4 or 5 drags or 10 drags, whatever. It was just a lot more. It was honestly, I liked the idea of being able to build my own coils and screwing it all in, and like even using these little like coil master things, like an auto twist kind of system to help make coils, but you couldn't really do anything fancy with them. The fancier coils were unbelievable, like getting flat ribbon wire and all that stuff. But yeah, I would highly recommend, if there is anyone out there still smoking cigarettes or have given thought to quitting or to switching over, if it feels like it's really hard to quit cold turkey or very frustrating, then vaping, at least as far as I know, is a much healthier alternative. And from the facts I've heard and from different resources, it's mostly healthier. There isn't really any health complications. There's been like problems with directly ingesting the juice, obviously, but that's because it's raw nicotine in there. You're not really supposed to eat that. But I think the only real problematic chemical would be the nicotine and whatever sweeteners. I would say partially because sweeteners gunk up the coils a lot faster. It can help make it like that much more quickly burnt out and like weird, and kind of wastes it, because they say on average the coil is supposed to last about a week, but it almost never does because of the sweeteners and juice. So, and also if you want to get into the more like big hefty mods like this one, where it's got all those stats and stuff on there, like the puff counter and all that, it's really hard to get like a good angle on this. I really gotta look into better equipment, but yeah, like ohms, mode, there's like, oh god, there's, hold on, nope, there's wattage mode, temp mode, and memory mode. I don't even know the other ones, I just know wattage mode. So I have a very vague understanding of all this. I know that from reading service level labels what to do. Like the coil itself says 40 to 80 watts, best at 55 to 65, so I leave it at 60.6, so that way it's just like a nice level area, only because I don't want to bridge past the 65 to 70 area, just because it could be hazardous for the coil. I would also with vaping, there's a huge selection. So if you really want to get like a good setup and learn, the best route would be to kind of surf around the online web area and just kind of Google things and kind of gather a surplus of information, and then look around on different websites, because there's all sorts of different prices, and honestly it's probably more expensive to get it in store anyway, because this was at least 100 in store, and I found out later that it's about 30 to 40 online. With shipping and handling, that can raise it, but that's still lower than 100 90% of the time, especially if there's like a lot of deals going on around the site. So yeah, that is the first tidbit of stuff that I would like to promote for the day. If only it was a sponsor, because that would be cool. But I think if I ever do any sort of sponsorship, if that's ever even going to be a thing, I don't even know. But it'd probably be something kind of like what Jack's Films does. He tends to only go after things that he genuinely enjoys, which would make sense. I hate when people just like, hey, I'm getting paid to talk about this, so I'm going to talk about it. Like, no, don't do that. Don't ever do that. That's boring. But yeah, I guess that'll be all for today, guys. Bye.